Okay, so we're live. Hi, folks. Hi, Michel Malo here, coming to you from Laval, Quebec, the head office of Microwage for our MSP Talk segment, the show where we talk about everything about scalability and increasing profitability for MSPs. And as announced last week, I'm real happy to have a couple of buddies with me today. Sherweb's in the house. So, guys, you see the name. You have Michael and Alex here. Hey, guys, welcome to the show.
Hello, thanks everybody.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
It's awesome, guys. Thanks. Listen, the reason these things are becoming more and more popular, podcasts and shows and stuff like that. But I got to tell you, the reason I'm doing them is because they don't let me out much. I mean, I can't care. I can't travel anymore. I mean, I miss the shows. I mean, listen, Mike. I mean, we've seen each other at so many shows. Geez, you know,
I mean, I was surprised they let you on the first place, but I was always glad to see you on the road, though.
yeah. Listen, I mean, hopefully, again, eventually, I guess it's good now. You can actually travel. You can actually go out and meet people. You have protocols to keep. Like of course, right now in Montreal, I'm actually in the red zone. I should have like a team. Like, oh yeah, you see the red here. Okay, that's not microwave red. That's because Montreal is now a red zone. All right.
Correct.
So, guys, listen, happy to have you here, and wanted to talk about Sherweb, dive into the Sherweb universe. For all you guys that don't know about them, they're getting bigger, and they're growing. They're getting there, and also they're putting on an event. We're going to talk about that in the next little while, and I wanted to talk to you real quick to introduce Sherweb. But I'll have these guys introduce the company. But for me, I've always been a big fan of Sherweb. Microwave has been associated with Sherweb since for I think maybe like 5-6 years, and they've grown. They've gone through growing pains, but there was always a good relationship, right? So it's always been a fan about Sherweb and what they bring to the table. So so basically, guys, give me a bird's eye view of what's going on, what's new with Sherweb, and tell me a bit about the company.
No problem. So Sherweb, like you said, growing pains, many phases over the years, and it's so funny because I think if you cram the last 6 years of business, it feels like 6 decades. I think to many of the people around here because the pace of technology and industry that we're in, right? I mean, if you look even and to give compliments back to Microwave, you guys have been an excellent partner for Sherweb. And most of the times when we do have like partners that do join up, we've seen this like catastrophic, insane rise in revenue. All the metrics that again vendors kind of look at, but let me put it this way: I don't think anyone's buying our stuff because they like me or they like Alex. I think they're buying it because it's useful. It's because it's part of their business plan, right? So most of the Microwave people, whatever you're doing there, I don't know what your secret sauce is, and you guys will never tell me, which I respect. But whatever it is you guys do, we've seen the same kind of growth as well too. And yeah, definitely growing pains. I mean, if you go back to it, we were originally a web hoster, right? Like a proto GoDaddy, if we're to go put it that way, to a competitor of ours. Again, but then we've gone to become like a Hex provider, and then to become part of Microsoft CSP program. So for everything related to Microsoft 365, Azure cloud solutions. So it's just had so many phases over the year with so many different products and so many different things. It's almost like we're constantly evolving, and it's kind of where I would say. And we've definitely kind of hit our stride. I'd say one of our big changes this year is we're going away from being a product-focused company, and we're being more of a business-focused company. So,
hold on a second. Back up for a second. I want to stop you right there. I want to go back to, we're going to talk about Accelerate a bit later, but 3 years ago I was there, and I remember I was the sole representative of Microwave, and basically, hold on a second. Looks like your camera was unplugged. Hold on a second.
You're too active. It's too much emotions talking about Accelerate.
Oh, come on, man.
True.
Hold on a second.
That's what happens. I may lose my sound once I talk. Because, I'll get excited myself.
Well, you guys can hear me, right?
We can hear you just fine.
Okay. No, listen, I just unplugged it. Hold on a second. I plugged it back up. No That's fun. That's great. Live TV, man.
It's live TV. This is what happens. I mean, at least no one swore or said anything that's going to end their career. So if the worst thing we've had happen is a little bit of microphone and camera issues, we're pretty lucky.
Yeah. So anyway, I was just talking about real quick the first Accelerate I went. I remember going there, and there was something palpable about that event and I remember talking about it. It was a lot of Sherweb listening to their partners. you could see it. I think it was the let's just say the word within the organization was to gather the culture or get the pulse of the clientele, right? And this was like throughout the event. It was good event. It was like basically, I think it was the first Accelerate in Toronto 3 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So, but I remember walking away and thinking, all of us, although I did see you guys presenting a lot of stuff. You were presenting this, presenting that, the VoIP, you were getting into VoIP, getting into that. And then we started talking about BI, right? And all the way, I'm thinking, wait a minute, man, that's a lot to take on. And we talked about growing pages earlier. It's a lot about, wait a minute, are they like, they're spreading themselves thin, right? And I wanted your take on it. You guys went through that change, went through that evolution, right?
Yeah, I mean, Alex, you've been here longer than I have. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it was it's a bit like Michel said, like the first Accelerate, it was, the prototype, right? So it was the first time, our first foray into having a live event with all of our partners. And for us, it felt a bit like our first Comic-Con or our first, big E3 Expo, where it would be the real first time that we get to see as many of our partners in the same place at the same time. People we've had, virtual relationships with for years already. Now, they get to come, and then we get, at the time, I was an account manager for the first couple of Accelerates, and it's just presenting one partner that you work and have a close relationship with to another partner. It felt a little bit like, you're in high school or in college, and you're going back to high school, like, here's my new college, but you're gonna like this guy, you guys are gonna get along and great. So that energy that you're talking about,
the community aspect, basically, the one aspect that, I mean, basically the channel's evolved in the last couple of years to embrace that community aspect. I mean, Dado's doing it, you guys are doing it, ConnectWise, right? Everybody's trying to create that community aspect, and that's what I kind of felt with from the event.
Exactly, and for us, it was very organic because we weren't lying. We were very excited to meet our partners for the first time, and we wanted to have that feedback. So even though we did have a lot of things to present, we wanted to make sure that this was going to become a recurring thing, and that we were going to improve on it every year, make it bigger and better, and listen to our partners, make sure that like all the stuff that we present is stuff that they care about, that they want to learn about. So the second Accelerate in Montreal was great, and then we try to do reinvent ourselves every year. We didn't plan the virtual thing this
No,
year.
it wasn't part of the plan.
No. The actual plan was to go down to Fort Lauderdale, and as we are.
I remember. Yeah.
And I had big plans, guys, for Fort Lauderdale. Let me tell you, real unfortunate.
Yeah.
Exactly, and the place we had rented was just perfect. The vibe was called Margaritaville, so it was like just right in that perfect. Sweet
Yeah, and
spot
it
where our
would have been
partners want.
the first U.S. show, right? Or have you guys?
Exactly.
Well, you guys
Correct.
probably. Yeah. No, listen.
Freezing in Montreal, just in the south. It was, and so it probably was, too good to be true, I guess. And we are, partly responsible for 2020 because of our big ambitions.
Yeah, no, you guys really screwed up big that time, right? Really screwed the pooch. So listen, just a quick tidbit on where you guys at right now. So Sherweb, so you guys can talk a bit about these numbers. Like I said, you guys are getting bigger. Been around for a long time. Listen, the first I heard Sherweb was way back when. That was over like 12 to 15 years ago. So it was a lot about, like you said earlier, just like oh, you need a website? Okay, sure, we'll set it up for you.
Yeah.
And but you guys are growing with a lot of partners. And how many sites right now? You guys main employees is that most employees are in Sherbrooke.
Correct. I'd say the majority are located in Sherbrooke. We also got big sites as well located in Montreal as well too. You kind of have two right now. We have a downtown office, primarily support focused, and then we have our sales and marketing office, which is Longueuil, very close by to South Shore, not too far away. And again, it's been a rapid expansion, right? Because as Office 365, the entire Microsoft ecosystem has really taken off, and in Canada, we've been a major contributor to that in the channel. We're adding something like 30 or 40 employees on a really good month, right, into our bucket. So we're really growing quite quickly. Partners as well too. Our goal is to add about anywhere from 200-300 a month, right? Usually what we're getting. And again, clients are just escalating because that's the beautiful part of the channel. That all vendors will tell you more or less is that with MSPs comes scale. So with every partner we add an X amount of clients afterwards, right? Which is a general idea. So it's growing, and again, we've had really, really, really rapid growth the last couple of years. We're in double digits year over year, and that's where we are today.
Yeah. Plus, you always, well, one thing that comes with it, obviously, is a lot of restructuring, right? Like roles change.
Oh, constant.
I mean, basically, your setup was done a certain way. Then a year later, you realize, oh, okay, it might have been a good idea last year. Not anymore. We have to move pieces around, right? So that's a lot about the growth aspect of Sherweb. So, hey, you know what? It's a good problem to have, right? You guys are growing. Right.
It is, and one thing that to comment on that is, we're so used to all these changes all the time happening. We actually have a proof from just this live stream that we're doing. When your camera went out, neither of us flinched.
Wow.
True.
Yeah, maybe we would have been a bit nervous a couple of months last year, a couple of months ago, or something like that.
Year, but, with all the stuff that's happened this year, all the things that we've had to move virtually, including accelerate to to become, instead of a 3-day live event, to become like a full, kind of MBA in business for partners, with all the things that we want to bring, not as a one shot, here's the presentation, you're on your own, but to really build those relationships and become, as Michael just said earlier, like it's more like to be that business partner focus.
So basically, listen, that's a good segue. Let's go back. Let's dive in real quick into the offer, right? Sherweb offer, the 4 pillars. Let me find. I do have a slide, but at a certain point, we'll just get started, and I'll put it up afterwards. So the Sherweb offer, like I said, it's evolved in different ways, but it was a lot, like I said, a couple of years ago, it was a lot about bringing new technologies to the table. Okay,
correct.
Testing them, exactly, testing them, beefing it up, presenting it, trying to get some traction. But with all these products, you kind of lose the focus and the cardinal law, right, or Pareto's law, the 80-20 rule, where the best way to grow is within your account base, right? So you guys had the tools. You're bringing up the product. You're providing products, providing value. Now all of a sudden it's about increasing that stickiness to your partners, being able to add pieces for them to become and for you to become more and more relevant and important to them. Because listen, I mean, Office 365 is great. It's a great start to get in there, but I mean, let's just say that in terms of once it's set up, it's if you only stick to that gun, if that's the only thing you're providing, you're not set up for the long haul, right?
Definitely aren't. And again, that's actually my worst case scenario is what I always tell people, especially when they're like, "Oh, I have a fantastic recurring revenue model," and great, what's it based on? Office 365. And you're like, that's not the model that you need then, right? Because again, you made the point. So MSPs are kind of shifting, at least in my opinion, from this product focus, right? Where it's what can I sell these guys? And then in turn, our focus was what can we sell the MSPs? And it kind of changed now to what value can I deliver to my clients? And then in turn, we shifted to what value can we deliver to our partners.
Well, listen, you're drinking your own Kool-Aid, right? At the end of the day, you have to tell the customers or anybody that's doing work in the MSP world. I mean, it's right now. It's actually a segment that I'm coming up in maybe in a month from now. We're talking about the hardship of being able to gather and get more clientele. It is so hard right now that you have to be able to expand on your customer base, being able to offer more and more services. And that's basically what MSPs need to do. They need to shore up their relationship, make themselves more valuable. And in turn, Sherweb pretty much has the same attitude, right?
Absolutely. Correct. And that's where the pillars of the offer come in, right? So what we kind of went away from is, well, we're not going to offer just a product because at the end of the day, products are commoditized, right? And for all the reasons you can think of, selling a single SKU and just a SKU is not going to work in any relationship, no matter who you are, right? Yeah. Again, I'll steal one of your facts, but I didn't tell you this one, Michelle, so I don't feel too bad taking it from you.
Okay.
But something interesting. So my telecom background, we talked about this a million times before, that the reason why all these big players have telecom channel programs like Nortel back in the day, right? Michelle, all those players, is because if we sell something directly to a client, it lasts about a year and then it goes away. Things happen, right? You sell through a channel partner, the average engagement is 2.5 years, right? So it's like a 2.5 time increase in the value of the contract for everybody. So that's the main reason why we think that, we need to focus on how we can add value and why these partners are important. So we decided was, hey, if our partners are important, we need to refocus on what we're doing and get rid of the kind of the product focus and drive it more into how we can help our partners. And then we kind of put that into, I'd say, 4 squares. So it's kind of represented a little bit on the logo here too. Though it's kind of hard to tell with the colors the way they're spread out here. But one of them, the red stands for business strategy. The darker blue stands for cloud solutions. The more orange color stands for cloud expertise, and the lighter blue is for operational effectiveness. Right?
Wait a minute. Somebody thought about that, actually?
Somebody thought about that.
Yes.
Okay.
Somebody invested. I swear to God, we have a fantastic marketing guy that actually built all this for us. It was called Project Phoenix internally. The idea was to reinvent it.
Well, you had to put you put a code name on it.
There was a code name.
It's
My
Project Enron, or what was it?
Project Enron. Oh God, I hope not. That's not a project. Project 15 to 20 with parole. I think that's what that'd be called. No. But in this case, it was Phoenix. And I remember I've had my boss very rarely threatened me with anything before. But he said, if you tell anybody about this, I'll be under your bed waiting for you that night with a knife. So it became a thing where it was super secret. But the reason why is because we put a lot of time and care into it. So, and this is basically what we're trying to offer in our program. Again, it's not product. It's not really a focus on transactional relationships. It's really, what can we do within the sphere of things you need to improve to be a modern MSP or a business transformation leader, and what can we offer to help you get there?
And I think just to add to that is just that just the last thing he just said, business transformation leader. This is a lot of the discussions that we've been having with MSPs. We feel that having just that recurring model with your set client base, going about as if everything was normal, is no longer viable.
No.
Your clients need other options now because they are forced to work from home, working from anywhere. They're forced to use their own laptops. They don't want to, have security breaches. There's a lot more, attacks going on. Yeah, a lot more, scam and spamming.
Well, actually, I did hear a stat the other day. Actually, it wasn't a stat. It was basically a simple statement that one of my upcoming guests will be diving into. He said basically, listen, the IT market in general grows by 10% year over year. Okay, in terms of we're not talking about like overall, just like we're talking about general IT. Okay, and if as an MSP or an IT reseller, you are not growing that 10% year over year, you're actually losing market share, right? So the principle holds. Now, listen, of course, I've seen some guys boast, we have like a 25% year over year growth for the last 4 years. Then you look and you see, okay, there was acquisitions, all right? Or also they're very small and they're growing a lot quicker, but then you hit a wall, right?
Correct.
You hit a wall where you hit a plateau. And personally, I feel that it happens when, I don't know, you go from 5, 6 employees, 4 employees, you get stuck there, 4 or 5 employees. Then you might get another plateau when you hit like maybe 11, 12 employees or something like that, right? But the same principle holds is that fact, if the reason why you're hitting a plateau is because you're doing the same thing you were doing before, but it's not producing the same results at all, right?
It's very linear, so that if you're adding one more client, you're adding 2 hours of work. So you hit that plateau where there's just 24 hours in a day, and you can't fit any more clients.
Yeah. So basically, does that tie into the value, the offer of where Sherweb is basically trying to help out their partners?
Yeah,
correct. And that's the operational effectiveness that you touched on perfectly, especially in Alex's example, right? Which is if I only have so many hours in a given day, what do I do to optimize that time, right? So that's where the effectiveness comes in. That's licensing, right? That's the migrations. That's billing, PSA integrations, the ability to put things through a PSA. These things that kind of, again, like you're talking about, like maybe if you only have 1 or 2 keystone clients, you don't need a PSA at the moment. But let's say you get to 15, 20, 30, 100, right? You need to be able to manage your invoicing, right? Because invoicing by itself, if you have to do 100 different names, right, once a month on a piece of paper, that's if you're really good, 8 to 10 hours of work, right? So again, that's removing from your ability to scale. So you need to always pick a partner. And again, it's the same logic we apply to ourselves. We want to go our partners to apply to be like, everything you do should have a certain return. 10x is ideal. It's not the reality in some cases, but if we can at least double that, right? Be really modest and just say, we'll just double the amount of time we're going to get back by doing this engagement. you'll see a lot of time back in your pocket, right? And again, a lot of people we deal with are owner operators. I'm sure the same thing with you too, Michelle, right?
Yeah. Actually, microwave is a bit of a different beast, I would say. Although the thing is, we don't have. I've said it before. We're not a cookie cutter model, right?
Yeah.
So listen, I have smaller guys, bigger guys. I mean, we run the big gambit, right? Some of our guys that have been there for a long time, because the average size of a microwave is 10 to 12 employees. Okay. When you get to that 10 to 12, listen, they're all owner operators. Forget it. There's no one who's got minions working, having them work and do their stuff, right? But there's a certain level when you get to that 10 to 12 employee mark, if you're able to, like I said, we have many players, many partners that are below that threshold, right? But when you get to 10, 12, now all of a sudden, okay, you have the service manager. All right. So he's your right hand man for certain things. You might have a sales manager, but most of the time you have a service manager, because it's all about owner led sales, right? And it's all about like you said, I mean, there's just so many hours in a day that you have as a business owner where you become that clog, that basically you're clogging up the
bottleneck.
A bottleneck.
It's a bottleneck. So you have to be able to embrace all these different ideas and different ways of tweaking your operation. That's why when you talk to an MSP, they're all excited about every shiny new tool. Right, because they're thinking about, okay, wow, awesome, man! I can increase my billing efficiency. I can increase my response time. I can increase my onboarding. Is that part of what Sherweb brings to the table in terms of bringing those types of efficiencies to the table, or is
Correct.
it? Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. It's the onboarding. Another thing we have in efficiency too, and it's not really covered here, but this is the point where, like, again, I got some great guys on my team that have developed some stuff. So Alex has actually been working really hard on min-maxing. Again, it's more of a D&D term or video game term, but it's a good way to describe what Alex has been doing with the NPM programs, right, with Microsoft. So Alex, tell us a little bit about that min-max process you developed. I mean, it's really interesting, and it's a great idea of saving time and money. So
exactly, and to lead into that, I think Michelle, you had a great example of saying that even Microwave, which is a group of franchises. Each franchise is different. There's no cookie cutter model.
No.
So instead of, for us, of our offering being like, here's a checklist of who you are and what we want and what we recommend, all of that, we have the 4 pillars approach, and then we listen to our partners. We inquire about what their business strategy is. We try to help them build a business plan, and Accelerate's going to be great for that as well. And part of those discussions, we look at where the partner is in their Microsoft journey. Because there's a lot of different programs within Microsoft. Like every day I find a new program, a new incentive somewhere that could be applicable to a certain partner. So we first have that discussion. We really get to know our partners, what they're after. Are they more about device management? Are they more about, VoIP or Cloud PBX? Are they more on the dynamic side, the ERP type things? And then from there, I go into the Microsoft Partner Center and look with them at all the different programs, all the different competencies that they should have, all the different permissions that they need to give themselves in order to actually see these things, and where that money goes, and what the plans are for Microsoft. As we were talking about right before this call, part of why I'm so excited is not only Accelerate this, because for the first time this year, the new fiscal year for Microsoft incentives started on October 1st. Usually it starts August 1st, where nobody cares, they're all on vacation, and I'm just the only one excited, and nobody wants to hear it.
Wait a minute, you actually get excited about that?
Oh, he does. You have no idea, Michelle.
You gotta get
excited. I get messages on the weekends of like, look what I discovered, and I feel like it's kind of like he has a tomb of secret knowledge that he just rolled out for me, and then I get my update. He's not even exaggerating. This is all very accurate.
Listen, you say exciting, and I could basically, if I could knock downstairs and get Maria to tell her to give her 10 cents on her thoughts about about Microsoft. Listen, don't get me wrong, Microsoft is a huge partner. It's the greatest partner, but does the term like sticking a needle in your eye come to what image it conjures up when they actually change the model? They decide to make changes. And then all of a sudden, a lot of the guys at Microsoft don't even know why they did it, or they found out the day before, right?
Or I tell them.
There you go. There you go. That's extra value. That's some value that Sherweb might bring to the table. Actually,
Absolutely.
actually, I think that's a huge value. You guys have such a position with Microsoft. You know that the relationship. Listen, the relationship that you guys can have with your partners goes way beyond what such a company like Microsoft can have in terms of demystifying, helping them out more than just having like a hotline or something like that. But even then, I mean, it gets so complicated that if you have a partner like Sherweb that's able to, you know what, let's say, here are the landmines. Here are what you need, what's the important stuff. Out of this whole freaking stack of information, a number of links, here are the couple of things that you need to key on, right?
Yeah, and just to finish on that, like one of the landmines, if you will, that should get out there as much as possible is the changes that were made to Azure Plan, which is the new Microsoft Azure offer from Microsoft. It's a whole new marketplace for people to create Azure subscriptions and migrate from the legacy Microsoft Azure to the new Azure plan. The requirements, the competencies, the enrollment is completely different than the regular
surprise.
surprise. So it would be very important for anyone that's listening, anyone that has an Azure plan subscription, to either contact their account manager if they're at Sherweb, or I guess like some voodoo lady if they're
or
not
contact Alex here. You've got his info
yeah,
there.
I'm about to get flooded.
Hold
on a second. Let me put it on the ticker. Okay, hold on a second. No, I'm just kidding.
But contact Alex. Personal problems are his favorite. If you could just do those first and then the business after, that'd be the best way to do it.
Yep. That's exactly how it works. But just that. I mean, everything else. There's lots of other subtle changes. There's a lot. What you were talking about earlier. It's very hard nowadays to find new clientele, especially because of the COVID situation. You can't just go out to shows and things like that. So even Microsoft recognized that there should be a big focus about upselling your internal client base that you already have. So a lot of the new incentive programs go to that, about getting them to adopt new workloads, getting them to maybe they were using Teams and they were using the Microsoft apps for the Office suite, but Exchange Online, no, they were on G Suite. Well, if you can get them to switch everything to one place, it's not just more business for you regularly. Because it's coming from a different place to Microsoft. They're like, yes, we want this, we want to reward you. But there's a lot of hoops to jump through, a lot of forms to sign, a lot of permissions to add, and I'm your guy.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, basically you're the bean counter. You're the guy that no, you're not the bean counter. You're the guy that's going to make sure that wait a second, don't forget about this this year.
I found the game manual. Pretty much is what I have. So
yeah, he's got the game manual. That's a good way to describe it.
Well, it'd be even better if you had the cheat sheets.
Right? I figured out the cheats. I figured out the Game Genie codes and all the hacks you can do with it. And one of the fun parts about that is because Canada is much smaller than the US, we could abuse all those programs, if you will, as much as possible, and they'll still fly under the radar because we're 1/10 the size of the US. But say one of the big indirect CSPs in the US were to do some of these things that are perfectly within the program would probably be modified halfway through the year. So this is some very exciting stuff. Like I said, I'm not lying. I stay up at night thinking about this stuff.
Okay.
He texts me on the weekend, so he's very into it. Like I'm not kidding, Alex. You need to stop texting me MPN things on the weekend. That's where you can distill.
But there's no new movies, there's no new shows that are interesting.
Actually, that's kind of true, man. The movie, listen, when was the last time you actually got excited about a movie that came out? I'm still waiting for Maverick, Top Gun 2.
Top Gun 2. I forgot about that one.
It was supposed to come out, right? They decided to screw that, man. We're pulling it out.
What happened, guys? What are we gonna do? I mean, all we have access to. I mean, how many times can you watch Mulan? You know what I mean? Like, what do we need? Something else going on here.
Movie I watched this summer.
All right. So, guys, listen. So basically, listen. The Sherweb's offer is a lot about how do I say it? Solidifying the relationship with your customers, for them to solidify the relationship with their customers and expand and so forth, right? So it's a lot now. It's a lot more about how do you become more efficient? Because we're talking about efficiency here. We're talking about being more efficient in the sales process, in your approach to your clientele, in basically your operations, everything, operations, admin, HR, right?
Correct.
So And I think that's pretty good because it actually ties into the next part of the segment, which is accelerate, right? As I said earlier, I've been to every Accelerate since the beginning. It was a lot about listening to partners, then presenting some extra value, but there was always some good content. And you got some pretty cool guys there. And one of them is Mark Stewart. Okay, he's a regular at your events, and I'm a big fan of Mark. He always has some really interesting stuff to say, and he did a couple of. I saw a video that he posted about the Sherweb, about a CompTIA survey they did, where 73% of channel businesses don't. That's you MSPs, all right, and the IT resellers do not have marketing plans. You know what? Not even surprising. Right? I can say I've been in the IT business for such a long time. You know what? I paid my dues. I can say it. And 47% don't have a business plan, right? And I think this is where this might be the theme with Accelerate. So maybe you guys can dive into Accelerate a bit more.
Sure. So again, this is something I've iterated a couple different times, but I'll say it again because it is a little bit cliche, but it's a little bit accurate, right? So the whole idea here is that it's an MBA for MSPs, right? So a typical show that you'll go to, typical environment you'll go, it's like a 2-day, 3-day thing. The first night, everybody gets there, you're jet lagged. You do a couple like courses, usually half day. Second day is the bigger day. Then there's a drinking festival at nighttime. You've been to DattoCon, like I know you have.
I missed that.
I know. Me too. Wasn't that great when Datto just puts us on an aircraft carrier with an open bar? Those were the days.
That was a party. I remember live streaming for my friends, and they say, guys, I'm having a party on a freaking aircraft carrier, man.
Exactly.
How cool is that? Anyways.
And you do that the next day, everybody feels terrible and shows up late to their sessions, and then everyone goes home and hopes that no one remembers the things you said to them at the open bar last night. So this is the rough format of these events, right? And they're fun, don't get me wrong, and you do learn. But the idea here was to kind of build something that's more in a stage or a process, right? So the idea here is that we focus on kind of laying the foundation of the house. So we talk a little about the HR, operational effectiveness, sales, all the kind of different things that usually we find our partners struggle with, right? So how can we educate them? So we went and got a series of people, Mark Stark being one of them, you have Sharka Shabat, many others from different places, from different programs, different vendors, all people that are experts in different areas that MSPs usually need a little bit of help with. So you go and you take these courses, you learn from the stuff, and the next step is that you kind of build your business plan. So the business plan is not just something you have to do by yourself, it's something you want you to do with your account manager. So sign up with Sherweb if you're not already, attend the event to get your spot booked to your account manager, and you'll do a whiteboarding session discussing where you need to go and how you can possibly get there. And then the last part is the execution. So the whole idea is that we're going to go into a phase where we're going to help you measure what you've done, give you that little push you're going to need to kind of get going. Because again, it's always hardest to start. That's what we've noticed with people. And then you're going to be able to execute on what you've done, do some A/B testing, see what works, and then retool what doesn't. So the whole idea here is that it's not just a one-day event. It's basically a course correction in some cases, or it might be an entirely new endeavor in others, right? Like you said, a lot of guys don't have business plans when they start with this. The focus here is to make sure that somebody can take all the information we have, build the base, build the rooms, and then build the roof. Have an entire house, have an entire plan, all figured out and executable by the start of the calendar year, essentially. So that's the idea, and that's what the difference is. So we've never done this before, truth be told. It's going to be new for us too. Some of the stuff here we've done before in smaller doses. If you're a big partner of ours, you've probably done a QBR before. A lot of our larger partners, like most microwave franchises, have done that exercise before, for example. But generally speaking, not everybody has. It's a great opportunity, a great way for you to identify where you are right now, what you need to do to change, and what that goal should be once you make that change happen. So that's what the big focus is.
Listen, I'm a big, I don't know, I'm a big, how do we say it? For me, I drank the Kool-Aid years ago. And I mean, if you're going about your business without a plan, it's like hoping, right? And you're basically relying strictly on your experience and on how fast you can react. That's not scalable. That's correct. That is not scalable. Listen, I mean, there's different schools of thoughts on these, but they all start with the fact, like, for example, the book Traction, EOS systems, right? It's all about breaking it down into set pieces and to build a plan on it. and then being able to deploy it. But if you don't have that piece at the beginning, if you're not able to sit down and actually have some actionable, not actionable items, but basically the pillars of your business plan. I mean, it's like the old saying: the best laid plans of mice and men
Mhm.
go awry. You
Go
know,
right. Correct.
and basically this is all. So when people look at this slide and they see, okay, well, it seems like a long period. No, 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 it's not. Right? I mean,
It's really
basically,
not.
it's not at all. Okay, and listen, I mean, the challenge is doing it the first time, but the thing is, it has to be a regular thing. You have to be doing this every year
You
because if
have
your
to.
business is evolving, I mean, different players come to there's different pieces, right? So this is about setting the bar, right? You guys are
Mhm.
presenting, okay, here are the key elements you need to be looking at: your HR, your cash flow, your onboarding, your all these pieces, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's us eating our own chowder because we keep telling partners that they need to have deeper relationships with their clients. They need to understand what their clients' goals are, not from a just, oh, I need three more licenses of this, or remove a license of that, or reset my password. But where do they see their business in 1 year, 2 year, 5 years? What kind of projects are they looking into? And then you, as the business transformation leader, would know what tools to give them to accomplish those goals. This
Yeah.
isn't done on a one visit basis. It's a
Um,
quarterly review with your clients and all of that. So we want to set that example with our partners instead of having that. It seemed great. I wasn't on the aircraft carrier with the DatoCon and all of that myself, but to get the most out of these new types of events where people don't actually have to physically show up, we have to have some accountability to ourselves and to them, to see that there is some value that we're bringing. Historically, Steve Jobs said that one reason he hated account consultants is that because they never stuck around for the results, right? They give their recommendation and then they leave.
they leave.
So this program is the antithesis of that. We are going to be there every step of the way for the
Okay.
building, for the execution, and to see the results with you.
Okay, so basically, not to listen. Before I want to ask you about this, but somebody just chimed in, Eric, saying hi to you guys, Eric Fujai.
Hey,
Hi,
Eric.
So,
Eric.
so hey guys, if anybody has any comments, any questions, or anything like that, shoot them out. Or like if you just want to say hi, that's fine. It's just a
Yeah.
click away for me.
And Eric, we love Microsoft, no matter what we said earlier. Don't worry.
Maybe he wasn't there for it. Well, listen, just for Alex, what you were saying is that okay? Because it's one thing to basically put a show on the idea
Mhm.
of building a business plan. What you're telling me is that there's going to be a follow through. There's going to be
Exactly.
you can't do it for every partner, but I'm guessing what are their requirements? I mean, they have to put in the work. They have to put in a crap load of work, a lot
Yeah,
of
you
work.
have to show up to accelerate. I mean, that's the first stage, right? If you
Okay.
if you don't show up and don't, it's a prerequisite, right? If you don't take the courses and you don't go through the process, it's gonna be real hard for us to make a plan if you just walk in the door without doing any of the homework necessary to get there,
Yeah.
right? So
But
it's
yeah, but I don't want to listen. I don't know if you guys are going to announce something special or specific at Accelerate, but listen, I've been through the process of having to help out a partner build his business plan
Hmm.
and all the different steps at it. I've been on the end where on a weekly basis, what's your update? What's going on? Like you were supposed to do this and that. And listen, it's like pulling teeth for one, right? For one partner, and he's part of my organization. I'm not talking about just microwaves. I'm talking about
Hmm.
whatever. Like I worked with Dumoulin, I worked with Sonics Plus, where I worked with different brands out there. But how is Sherweb gonna tackle that piece, right? Because your account managers,
Well,
they're-
it's always, we never want to pressure partners
yeah.
into this. We're not going to force them. We're not going to hold them in detention and say you're not going to get your next discount unless you do this. We
Oh
want
yeah,
to.
there you go. That'd be one way to get them to do it.
But so instead of negative reinforcement, we're going to want to have the partners that are interested in this, because the one of the main things that my Michael talks a lot about, when you're talking about business transformation and adoption of change management, is about onboarding the client first. You don't want to onboard your client in the middle of the flight. It's just like a plane. You want to onboard them
I would think
before
so.
you take off,
Yeah.
right? And when you do that, you like one of the exercises that you do is you ask them what changes they want to bring. So because you are enacting changes that they want, the resistance, the objections, they all seem to, to melt away and fade away. And whenever you're having those, you know, weekly, monthly, quarterly reports on,
Yeah.
your progress towards those goals, it's their goals. They're going to be happy to
Yeah.
see the progression. There's a lot of tools, there's a lot of, assessments that we provide as well to help them get a picture of where they are now, and then when they do the next review, where they are at this point, so that you can kind of show the path. And Microsoft has some tools as well. Some may be familiar with the secure score, so that whenever you enable, say for example, MFA, how much more secure your organization
Okay.
becomes and what
So
your
these
next step would be. Go ahead.
But these checklists, right? I mean, basically, they're part of a toolbox that you'll have
Hmm.
to be able for the guys to rate each other, rate themselves, rate their progress, and everything, right?
Well, first for them, like some of them, like say for the security assessments, which we've had a lot of success with, this is a tool that partners can use on themselves, of course,
Yeah.
but to use it's client facing. They can go to their clients, ask some specific questions, and then with that assessments come out with some, actionable items, and so or some exposing some gaping holes in their in their security, and having those tools whenever you have those conversations, when you're hitting what your client wants to talk about first, you're not just doing your pitch, if you will, trying to sell some licenses, and then they're just kind of half paying attention. This is what they want. This is what is keeping them up at night.
Of
All
course.
the security issues right now for people working remotely. There's a lot of business owners who they watch the news and they see, oh, Target's been hacked. Oh, Comcast lost 30 million users data. Oh, it seems that even this, how am I going to survive if these people can't even handle? So your role there also is a little bit like a psychologist to tell them like no, they're there, you'll be fine. Once you have MFA, you have like 95% of your attack surface is gone for attackers. Ransomware right now is a business. They go for the low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
If you have all these things set up, you're not going to be part of that. Easy money for those bad actors. So it's all part of these conversations. But again, it's very specific to the partner. So I always feel a little bit uneasy just throwing these lines out there since
Well.
it's not to one partner specifically,
Mhm.
but we really want to have, impactful conversations all the time with our
But
partners.
hold on a second, Alex. We're getting slightly off subject because as you're excited, it's your bread and butter, right? Uh, but we're talking. You're talking about the operational, the delivery aspect, and everything, right?
Well, there's
Uh,
that's part of that, yes, but that's why there's
that's
four pillars.
Oh no! Listen, don't get me wrong. No, I know that's part of the. Of course, that's the value you bring to the table. But I'm going back to the idea of building a business plan, right? Of
Mhm.
building a sales plan and a marketing plan. That has more to do with it. Has a lot more to do with. I mean, it goes so much deeper, or I should say the other way, wider than having the technical knowledge and about setting up your business. Of course, you have to cover all your bases, right?
Of course,
I mean, you
of course.
can't. Right now, um, MSPs, managed services, are professional services.
Hmm.
Okay, they're not. They're basically it's a complex offer. It's a complex relationship with the customers, right? But also managing the company. Your business owners that are coming to this course, right? They're coming to see you guys. They're bringing. Some of them are bringing their sales manager
Hmm.
or account manager because they probably have an account manager, like before they actually have a sales manager or a service manager, right? And then we're talking about, are you guys talking about taking them on for like a large sweeping changes to address, or it's a lot more about, okay, here are the tools, here are what you're using. Okay, here are the I'm fumbling with my words here. If they here are the tools you're selling, the products you're consuming, and everything, and here's how you make that delivery more efficient. Is it A or B? Is it more like business related, like HR overall efficiency in running a business, or is it a lot more about making sure that your delivery of the product and your services is tip top?
It all depends on what the partner actually wants and where the biggest gaping holes are. Because, even when you said, there's 73% that don't have a marketing plan, well, there's 27% that do. And
Hmm.
so if you're trying to have that marketing conversation with one of those 27%, they're going to tune you out pretty quickly.
Okay.
So it's always about finding out where the partner feels, the biggest pain points are, for his own business internally. Do they have issues hiring people? Do they have
Yep.
issues with the compensation plans for their sales team? Do they have issues creating the right bundles for their product offerings for their clients? Do
Okay.
they have issues with efficiencies, PSAs and things like that? Do they want to expand into another expertise? Like, say, for example, they want to take on device management. Before, they were all doing just licensing, it was fine.
Okay.
If the client needed hardware, they would reference, HP, Dell, whatnot. But
Yep.
now they want to take on the OS management, or they want to take on everyone's iPhone within the company has to be registered. So all of these new projects, new workloads, if you
Yeah.
will, come with questions,
Oh yeah.
processes,
There's a lot.
efficiencies to gain, and all of that. So we come in to help them. We kind of want to be the training wheels, with them as they do their first foray into a new project. And then, once they're good, we'll take off the training wheels, we'll let them go, and
Well,
they'll have
Alex,
success.
okay. Listen, you're basically talking my language. You're basically this is what microage is all about. Microage. I mean, you can think about whatever you want about a franchise organization. I mean, there's different benefits. There's different, but at the end of the day, there's something about having a partner that's got your back
Hmm.
and having a partner that's got experience. And it's not about imposing the experience. It's about basically, have you thought of this? Have
Hmm.
you thought of that? How about this? Because I know a guy in Chilliwack, who tried that, and he was in a similar bind that you are, right?
Yeah.
So it's a lot about being able to bring value to the conversation to get the guys out of a jam, so that they can move on.
Based on what they're actually looking for. Your example is perfect because, for that conversation to happen, you have to know what their end goal
Oh
is
yeah.
for the customers. And then when they're saying, because they don't know what they don't know, right? So when they're saying, oh, we want
Hmm.
to, move everything to the cloud right away. We just bought these servers last year, but we don't care. Everything's great. And then you come in, well, have you thought about perhaps a
Okay.
hybrid deployment? Have you thought about a phased, portion where we are, moving just the critical things that people need to work from home, from anywhere, actually, to the cloud, but to leave the business sensitive data, anything that needs to really be compliant, on site um, with these servers that you've just purchased last year, so you can actually
Yeah.
get some sort of return on investment for what you have. So it's those insights that you bring that sometimes you even have to challenge those customers, to get
Oh
them.
yeah, listen, listen. You do have to challenge. I mean, at the end of the day, you're talking to business owners that have so many different things that grab their attention. It could be shiny new things. Could be what's actually keeping them up at night. Is a lot more that has to do with about okay, how do I actually stop working on the day to day stuff,
Mhm.
and get ahead of the curve, right?
How do I
And
identify which of my clients is taking the most of my time,
oh
and
yeah, listen,
who should I offload?
we're going. Listen, we're going way back in the way back machine. When I used to work in distribution, I always grew my account base. I
Mhm.
never stopped. I never stopped prospecting, right? And but the only time I was able to make room for that was actually to do a review of my account base every 6 months and figure out, okay, wait a minute. There's a certain threshold where you figure, okay, I'm not these clients would be better served with someone else,
Mhm.
and also the fact that you're trying to make some time to move on. And I just basically grew and grew and grew and grew the volume base by reducing my account base, right?
Yep.
So this is the 80-20 rule. This is the Pareto's law, right? It has to do with being able to do more within your accounts. And Sherweb definitely exemplifies that with your approach. And you're definitely bringing a lot of value to the discussions with your partners, right? So Accelerate for this thing is going to be a first virtual event for you guys, right? But you're actually in a good position because you've seen everybody screw up the last 6 months. So
Yeah,
every other organization, well, like the first that came to, they did something wrong, and they realized that, you know what, having a full day conference
Yeah.
online, not gonna happen,
exactly.
right?
And the people that already took money for full day conferences and didn't want to give refunds, I think you mean those people, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
no, not
You'll
really,
know who
not
they
really.
are. No worries.
No, I'm just strictly speaking from the fact of actually trying to sit in on a conference for, more than, like, there's some content there. You guys are going to bring in your yay game. You're going to be
Hmm.
bringing a lot of value to the table to consume that,
Correct.
and it doesn't fit in a full day. Forget it, right?
No,
So
and it doesn't fit if someone's, turning off their camera and working on email at the same time and just kind of
yeah, yeah,
having it
yeah.
in the background. It's not that format that we want,
Oh
and
yeah.
that's part of the failings that we've seen from those, full day, 3 full days events. It's just, especially in the IT world nowadays, you don't have 3 days that you can put everything else on hold to, learn and do all that. Time doesn't
Yeah.
stop, calls don't stop coming in. You guys probably had a few, calls and emails during this live stream that you'll have to catch up on after the stream. So we can
Yeah.
try to put those lessons. We try to learn very very fast from those lessons. The theme is accelerate. It really means, it's um, that idea that, everything that you can do faster as long as you do it right. And
Yeah.
so we're very excited to launch this.
No, listen, I mean, I can tell you one thing from the content. I mean, I'll reshare it again, but from the content of this, of Accelerate, it's definitely something different. I think it's something different. And I commend Sherweb for bringing that to the table. Listen, I could give you so many tidbits about our experience as a franchise, about trying to bring that sort of value to our partners and doing it over and over and over again every year, right?
Mhm.
And I can share some insight from, I'm not going to name him, but it's one of our franchisees that went through the Taylor Business Group, a Profit Makers program that we have, right? The difference with our program is that the business owners, it's a permanent business improvement group. They share, they basically talk about their businesses, they get the best practices from, like get thrown around the table. But one aspect is it's based on metrics. It's
Hmm.
based on financial metrics. And just to let you know that, you know what, just because they're going to come to Accelerate, there's something to be said about consistency. Because my partner told me this. He told me, listen, Mike, he said, at first I was going through the motions. We're talking about acting change on your business. We're
Hmm.
talking about impacting your business and sticking goal, setting goals and sticking to it, even though you're not seeing any results, right? And he told me, Mike, he said, it took me like 10 months of going through the motions, doing the exercise, checking the numbers, setting action items. And all of a sudden, he saw the needle move,
Hmm.
and it became kind of addictive. It's kind of like he saw the light, where after 10 months of grind at it, all of a sudden you saw the needle move. Then a bit more, and a bit more, and a bit more, and it became sort of addictive, right? So that's the thing about what's really exciting about what you guys are going to be bringing to the table is if guys actually sit down and do the exercise, do the business plan, do the planning out piece. Actually, go in there and look at your strengths and weaknesses. Really look at your team and try to identify the most important pieces and how you can put them to better use.
Hmm.
If you put that on paper, but then you work at it, I mean, if once you see the benefits, wow, it's kind of like
It's like
it's like
therapy.
it opens up. It's like taking off the blinders, right?
True.
Yeah, it's not a get rich quick scheme. It's not a do this one neat trick and everything will change. We want your blood, sweat, and tears. We want to work with you,
It's true.
and we will be able to show results because and you'll see that light, you'll see that needle move, and absolutely, whenever you're working and you feel a bit like you're pushing the rock up the hill, and the next morning it's
There you
always
go.
at the same spot, you get discouraged. You get
Thank you, Guillaume.
thank you. you get you get discouraged. You get that depressed. Kind of like with COVID, like confinement's never gonna end. I'm never gonna go outside again. But then once you
Yeah.
finally get a little hint of a good news, or like this is gonna go on forever, and what you're doing, what you're working on, is
Hmm.
building the foundation for something that once it starts going, it's just gonna gain speed, and all the
Yeah.
things that you're doing right now, later you'll be like surfing. You'll be like just reflexes, like, oh, I do this, I do that, and then, oh, everything goes great. it's awesome. At least from our standpoint, we just love to see our partners, you know, get to that point where they're now seeing the light, like you're saying, and they're now seeing the progress and growing. And we do those business reviews quarterly or even annually sometimes. And the first thing that's fun to do is to say, here's where we were last year.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Do you remember how challenging you thought,
Yeah.
growing 2x was going to be? Well, you did 5x, my friend.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. No, it shows. Listen, I think it shows up in the culture, in the show culture, and the way you guys are approaching a relationship with your partners. And this, I mean, if you look at the lineup and the speakers that you have and the content, I mean, you guys are definitely bringing something a bit different to the table.
That's
And
cool.
that's like I said at the beginning, and I told you, Mike, this when I first met you. I've always been a big fan of Sherweb. There was something about and definitely kudos. I mean, this is going to be awesome. And oh, by the way, just to plug my own stuff, I will be there, right? I will have a virtual booth talking about the
Ah,
microwave advantage,
there you
even
go.
though this is MSP talk. We ain't supposed to be talking about that, but you never know. Plug in this little guy. So come
Sure.
on. So all of you guys that are going to go, that basically it's October 21st and 22nd. If you missed it because it's been in your face for the past 15 minutes, sign up. Get some value. But like Mike said earlier, bring your account manager.
Yep.
Bring a wingman, right? Bring
Mhm.
someone that's actually maybe it's going to be even more excited than you are. So that way, that account manager is going to be bugging you to make some headway, right?
Exactly. And a real life example of this is like sometimes I have a lot on my plate, and Alex has no problems reminding me what's important to him at all given times. So I know exactly what is the thing. And I joke about it, but this is a good thing, right? Make someone else accountable. Because I always talked to Alex, I had these big things I wanted to do for our partners and for Sherweb and all, and then I get stuck in what I'm doing, and Alex is like, "Hey, you told me to do this a week ago. Like, what's going on?" And I appreciate that. I maybe I don't always sound like I do to him, but I really do. I do appreciate that accountability. So bring somebody with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Have a
yeah,
partner in crime, a co-conspirator. And again,
Or
there's
someone
something for
that
everybody.
disagrees with you, someone you always fight with internally, that always has a different opinion than you
oh yeah,
internally
of
within your
course.
company. That
Yeah.
that's going to be twice the value because they're going to, take away a lot of different things than you would from there, and then you can have those post
Correct.
accelerate conversations.
Oh, listen, at the end, it's just like anybody when you're talking about leadership. If you don't have anyone within your organization to challenge you, get one. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And if you have a person that's opinionated in your team and, bring him on board, right? It's like what? There's 2-3 hour sessions, right? It's like, but at least to the first part and get them involved
Mhm.
so that they'll, keep you honest. Because
Correct.
like at the end of the day, it's lonely as a business owner. Basically, you're alone. Yes, we're all talking about peer groups. We have business improvement groups. We have peer sharing.
Always.
But when you're an owner, there's something lonely about having that weight, having all those decisions, and being at the forefront of it. And who do you turn to, right? Well, it's
Mhm.
always good to have someone within your team to challenge you. That's going to say, "Well, you remember what they said at the 2 months ago at the Accelerate thing? Did you ever invest into that business plan? Yeah, I got to get to it." Well, chances
Yeah.
are, if he doesn't, he's probably going to talk to it. You might talk to him 6 months down the road, and it's going to be this pretty much the same answer. Then
Mhm.
you
Correct.
tend to forget why you were supposed to do it.
Precisely.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, and just the last little example for any of us that are parents, it's a little bit like when your kid is finally old enough to take out the trash, and up to that point it had been your sole responsibility. If you didn't do it, it didn't get done. So it's a bit like being that business owner. You have that ultimate responsibility. That if other people do it, great, but if they don't do it, it's your responsibility to have that other person who becomes that partner in crime, who can start to understand those those requirements, that responsibility, that like my kid, oh, you can't go play with your friends right away because you still have to do these 3 4 things. And
Mhm.
it feels a lot less lonely. I don't know if it's I'm setting up my kid for a lot of therapy, but for me it makes me feel a lot less lonely to bring him into those responsibilities.
Yeah, no, you're right. No, it's
True.
definitely good. Yeah, right. All right, guys. So you know what? We're actually coming up on the hour. You know what?
Yep.
And Listen, folks, hope you enjoyed this bit. Sign up for Accelerate next week. I'll be there. Looking forward to seeing Carl, Mark speak, and there's I forget who else. I saw the lineup.
Sharkers there as well.
Yeah. All right. That's awesome.
A whole team of people.
So looking forward to it, and as usual, you guys are raising like I wrote that Sherweb is raising the bar again. So you guys are actually raising that bar again, which I appreciate. And like I said, I mean, you're touching on a lot of aspects that are part of what micro-rage is all about being part of a community, the sense of community, and being able to I mean, you can get a lot further. Not as a group, but being able to pool on other resources, on other people and their knowledge, and that's definitely something that seems to permeate. Or am I saying it right? Permeate out of the Sherweb? Actually, not even.
That.
Yeah,
I think it still works. I agree with that.
Still works. It still works.
Still
Okay,
works.
that's fine. All right. Thanks, Mike. Okay, so guys, listen. In case you missed it, here are the real quick. So if you want to get in touch with Mike or with Alex. You see that? I think you see the common thread. First letter, last name, right? Not too hard to understand to remember.
First, and again, like we love to hear from you guys. Love to see you guys at the show. And again, if you have any questions, we're here for you.
All right, folks. So thanks guys for being there. And go to sherweb.com, accelerate, and sign up, and we'll and come by the booth. Say hi. I always love to virtually shake hands. If I can't be in anybody's face right now.
Hey, I'll be there shaking virtual hands and having virtual drinks at your booth. Don't worry, Michelle. I'll see you there.
All right, guys. Been great. Thanks a lot.
Take care. Thank you, Michelle.
Sure. Bye-bye.
Bye.